For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, we are live and amplified. So let's get ready to podcast.
Fire it up.
Welcome, everybody, to another live and amplified livecast. I'm your host, Tom Quat, and we are back at it again with another amazing podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. We have the Sound of Ghosts. How's it going today, guys?
Going great.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to have you guys on. I'm glad to be able to do the podcast and, just get to know great musicians like yourselves. I've been listening to your music all day, and I'm really excited to learn more about you guys. So I just want to thank you once again for jumping on. Before we kind of jump into everything, all your music, talking about all that stuff, let's have you guys each introduce yourselves individually and like what you do in the band.
I guess we can
start with Anna.
Yeah. I'm Anna Orbison, and I sing, and I'm one of the songwriters, and I play ukulele and percussion and any other random things that we come up with.
Nice. And then what's your kind of background in music? What got you into music?
I started singing, I guess it was freshman year of high school. I always wanted to do musical theater. And so I played flute for a really long time and piano. And then I jumped out of the band and into musical theater and singing and whatnot. And so, yeah, I played from a very young age. My parents always kind of wanted us to be musical. And but yeah, I did musical theater for a long time, and this is actually the first band I've ever done. But it's fun. It's really fun.
Awesome. And then James?
Yep, I am James Orbison. I play upright bass in the band. I am a singer as well, and also a songwriter with Anna. We are obviously husband and wife, so we both with the same last name. We tend to try to write our stuff together. I have been very been in music pretty much, for most of my life. My dad played guitar, and I grew up with him doing that. And then around 13, he got me a bass, or my parents got me a bass. They actually got me a guitar first, and I didn't like it. And so then they got me a bass, and I kind of fell in love with it. And growing up here in Los Angeles, I got to do a lot of cool things at, 16, 17, 18, playing places like the Whiskey and the Roxy. And it was all pay to play, but being in a punk band and doing that type of thing, the Viper Room and, a lot of smaller LA venues. But yeah, I kind of always just played in different bands, had an opportunity to play with a band that toured for a little bit. So I did that. I was in a hip hop group for 6 years. So I've always kind of changed up what kind of music I was doing. Mm-hmm. And then, when we started dating, very soon after we started this band, and like Anna mentioned, we've been doing this for about almost 7 years.
Awesome.
So
I do have to ask, is there a story behind your upright bass? Where it came from? Did it come from anywhere, or does it have a lineage?
I always played electric bass.
Uh-huh.
And I was kind of inspired by folk music by some friends, a close friend of mine. And it turned into, when we decided to do this band, I got super inspired, and I came home from a trip, and I was like, I'm going to go buy an upright. And I went and bought my first upright, and that, unfortunately, a couple of years ago, my car got broken into after a show and was stolen. But luckily we had home renters insurance, or
Yeah,
and they
ensure
covered
your instruments, everybody.
yeah, they covered everything. And so I was able to go buy that beauty that you see behind you, a nice little white and red kind of pinstripe bass. But I just love it. I never thought I would be an upright guy after playing electric for so many years, but it's just so much fun. And I have a thing where, like, performance wise on stage, I like to play it behind my head like metal guitarists do. So I do the whole behind my head with a big ass bass like that. So it's fun. It's fun to figure out how to do cool little things with it.
Yeah, absolutely. My dad has an upright bass, and when I go down to Florida this weekend, I'm going to grab it out of their storage locker and bring it home with me because it needs to be rebuilt and refurbished, like, badly.
They're such beautiful instruments, man.
Yeah.
Like, and especially if if it was your father's, I don't know, is it like a K or something like that?
Yeah, it's a 1918 K bass, something like that.
Oh,
What?
I mean,
Yeah.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
you have to get that out of storage and get it refurbished, right?
Yeah.
That needs to see the light of day.
Yeah.
Well, this just kind of happened with us.
Yeah. My dad had a guitar just like sitting in a storage space under the stairs. And he was like, well, I got it at a pawn shop for $100. And like, he was a good guitarist. He just hasn't played in a really long time.
Yeah.
And so a friend of ours is a guitar luthier and repairman. And so I took it to him, and like the strap alone on the guitar was worth like $500.
Oh, wow.
And like, just so amazing.
It's a 1940s Gibson L5.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah.
So it's like one of the early ones from Kalamazoo, Michigan. He was like, it was funny. We were up there for Christmas. He's like, do you want to see my guitar? And I was like thinking, well, yeah, I've seen it before. And he was like, oh, no. And he like goes away for like 20 minutes. Then comes back. And like, I literally opened the box and it was like, like this
So
beautiful 1940, like, and it's been in storage for 30 years. So it's like,
it's
never was, it was so clean. It just needed like some new strings and a little bit of setup and some polishing. And it's just like, it sounds so beautiful. It was just like, who would have known?
Yeah. Well, to my dad's defense, his bass has only been in storage for about 6 months because they rented out their home and they were living out of a boat for the last 6 months. And so there's not really any room to put this thing.
Yeah.
So, and at the time I wasn't going to come down to get the thing. And, so now
That's great.
I'll have the opportunity.
Right. Bring it back with you, man. That sounds like, I'm sure just the tone on that thing alone is awesome.
Oh yeah. I'm going to have to take it over to my buddy's place because he, when he came down for Christmas 2 years ago before the pandemic hit, or not Christmas, just after Christmas, we went to a bluegrass festival and he was looking, he'd never seen my dad's bass before. He was looking at it. He was like, yeah, the neck's about to crack. The bridge is about to crack. We need, like, there's too much tension here and here. So we need to work on it a little bit. And I'm like, okay, well, let's see what we can do. So
a project.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it'll be a family, it'll be a family heirloom that gets kind of hand down. Or
there you go.
So I'm all about it. So what's kind of the history of the Sound of Ghosts? How'd you guys come to, obviously you guys were dating. That's how you guys came together, but how did the group kind of come together?
Like I mentioned, I had a close friend that I grew up with in high school. And he was in a touring band called Brownbird, and they were doing really well for himself. Unfortunately, he contracted leukemia while out on the road at like 36, and then, fought it and did the whole bone marrow transplants and everything, and ended up having a relapse and passing away. But I got the opportunity to go out to Rhode Island before he passed and like spend time with him and just the music community that surrounded him and people like that he loved playing shows with. And it was uber inspiring to like kind of see this group of musicians come together. And then, what for me was like, oh man, I want to start some kind of music. I got to get back into playing music, and we had always discussed it. So like I said, when I came back, I went and bought the upright. I was playing in a Foo Fighters cover band with our brother-in-law and a drummer named John. And so we kind of like decided just to start this off, and we named it The Sound of Ghosts after Brownbird's like first EP was called The Sound of Ghosts. So it was like kind of a nod of the tip of the hat for me. And then, you know, and it came from a very organic like place. And, you know, we just pushed forward it. You know, we've had a lot of different kind of like member changes throughout the year, but the core of us are the same. And, you know, we still love playing together and have had a lot of cool opportunities. So we just keep on keeping on.
Yeah. What is the current lineup of the group?
It's Joey Mackey is our guitarist, and he's our newest member, and he will be on our upcoming stuff, but he's not on any other recordings we've released so far. And then John Sarna, who was in that Foo Fighters cover band, he's been with us the whole time. So he's our drummer.
Awesome.
And then we also have a trumpet player by the name of Paul Literal, who's like,
Amazing.
This guy's like a living legend. He's played with the Stones. He's on like all the B-52 records. He's, you know, he recorded with Tom Waits. Like, he's just like one of those guys who's a legend. But he loves what we do so much that he gives his time to us. And you know, and we're always like, we could throw you a few bucks for gas, but he really believes in what we're doing. So it's great to have someone of that caliber who like just loves playing with us.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's always good to have somebody that's just willing to do whatever you guys need. Yeah, especially when they've got like a lineage like that. Man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you guys spent 2020 releasing a few different singles, and we talked about it before we jumped on here. You guys are building towards an EP, but the most recent single you released is "Have to Let You Go." What's kind of the story behind that single?
That one is about just kind of being fed up, I guess, with the person you're with, like telling you what to do all the time. Which,
not me. I'm never fed up.
He's never fed up. But yeah, it's our brother-in-law Ernesto wrote like this really cool lick, and I don't know, that one came pretty organically. But as soon as I wrote it, I was like, oh, this one's for James. This is from a man's perspective. So James sings this one.
Yeah. So she totally wrote the song about a man's perspective of being sick of being in a relationship. So I sing it, but she wrote it. And then the other single that we released, Heavy Burden, is kind of like a woman's perspective on an ending relationship. So they kind of went hand in hand, even though they're two.
We didn't intend for it to be like that. And then it was just like, oh, yeah. And people have said that in concerts, like before, because we had played them a few times. We hadn't recorded them and released them, but we played them on our live shows, and people would be like, oh, that's cool that you've got like his perspective and hers. And we were like, what? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. That we totally meant to do that.
Now, James, did you write Heavy Burden? Because that would just complete the circle.
I wish I could say I did, but no, that one Anna wrote all by herself, from like the chord structure to the lyrics. Like the whole kit and caboodle came from her brain, which is awesome for me, because like, as she mentioned, you know, this is like kind of like the first band that she's been in, and it's been amazing to watch her grow, like as a musician and a songwriter, to go from, you know, being nervous just about writing lyrics to now being able to like have full song thought process, and like can bring a whole song to us and be like, here's my idea, and then we all just bang it out real quickly, and then we're ready to move on to the next. So it's been cool for me, because like I said, I've been in bands my whole life. So it's been really cool to watch her grow so much in such a small amount of time with her skills and abilities.
Yeah. Now, do you guys usually play Have to Let You Go and Heavy Burden back to back, or will you space them out during a set?
I think we usually space them out. We usually do a Heavy Burden pretty early, if not the first song, and then have to let you go since it's rockier. We'll like do it at the end.
Thought it would always be kind of cool if you were able to like bridge one into the other.
One into that. That would be pretty cool.
And playing back to back, so it's like one long song with a random bridge changeove.
I kind of like that idea.
Yeah, now we'll do it just for you, Tom.
And we'll give you credit.
Sweet. You know, because I've seen a few different bands do something similar where they find like two songs that work together that could play back to back, and then they just kind of like bridge from one song into the next. So it's always cool when it works really well.
Yeah, that is cool.
Anna, you wrote both of these songs, and like you said, you haven't really been playing all that long compared to James. What was your creative process like when you sat down to write? We can go with both songs if it was a similar process, or if it was a completely different process. We can tackle it individually, I guess.
For me, mostly because I have been a vocalist for a long time, I tend to write things a cappella, and I tend to just write a melody and lyrics. And then I'll either fill in a chord structure, or I'll like give it to somebody else to fill in the chord structure underneath it, because it just takes me so long to kind of like pluck out what I'm trying to do. And because I'm not as strong of a player, it just feels like I'm kind of limiting myself if I start from that angle. So I've definitely done a lot of writing that way. And then sometimes we'll have like one of the guys in the band will throw like a progression or like a lick or something, like some cool kind of bass to it. And then I'll just build on top of that and come back with like melody idea. I did a lot of like jazz singing. So, and I think that helps a lot. Like I can improv over things and then find like something that sounds good. And I feel like comfortable doing that. And so I've definitely done a lot of that too, where it's like, somebody will bring in a cool chord progression and it's like, okay, I can mess with this and then find something that sounds good that we like. And then I'll just go from there and write the melody and lyrics.
Yeah. Awesome.
I think go ahead.
No, I was going to say something else completely different, but since James, you're going to jump in, go ahead.
I was just going to say it's been, as you mentioned before, our brother-in-law Ernesto was in the band for a long time, and he did like have a really good head for like riffs, and would come up with a lot of different type of riffs and things like that would turn into full songs. He last year decided he needed to step away from the band. He was donating a kidney to another good friend of ours, so it was like he needed to think about his health and all that, and we were like totally understandable. So I think after that, and then with the pandemic, like it really gave me and Anna, especially with this new stuff, to like really write together, which has been a really cool thing, because like, before it was like Ernesto would have an idea, Anna would have an idea, or I'd have an idea. And then we just figure out, how to make it all work all together. But we've really like with the new stuff that we're writing, it's been like me and her doing a lot of the initial legwork. So that's been, kind of cool. And like, I think also kind of changes up the sound a little bit, because it's a new stage, I guess, for our music, and we're maturing in our sound and like honing in on what works for us the best.
Absolutely. I will say though, I do appreciate the heck out of the fact that you guys have a radio edit of Heavy Burden on your Spotify.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because we host a radio show on the weekends, and it is so hard to find radio edits of a lot of these songs, because not a lot of musicians are pushing for radio play anymore. And so I just saw that as we were sitting here talking, I had your Spotify open, and I was like, oh, I didn't even realize you guys had a radio edit. That's awesome.
Yeah, we do. Nobody listens to that version, but we have it.
It was just, it was one of those things where it's like, well, you never know, you never know what's going to happen. You never know who's going to ask for it. And it's like, we really don't do a lot of cursing in our music. Yeah. So it's like, but like that one, it was it was a very important part of the song. So we're like, well, since we're going to do this, we might as well record another version just in case. And so thank you for noticing that, because I don't think anyone has ever noticed that before.
Well, like I said, we host a radio show, so it's just like I'm always looking for radio edits, and it's, those songs that are really cool. They have like the most random curse words, and it's just like I could edit that out if I wanted to, but it's not gonna sound right. Like
exactly.
Yeah. And I'm sure so time consuming to try to do that to everybody's stuff. So yes, we try to be radio friendly. We also like play a lot of family friendly shows. So we do the radio edit version live sometimes. Awesome. If we're like, oh, there's gonna be a lot of kids there, let's like, we'll go for the radio edit.
Do you guys push a lot for radio? Is that something that's actively in your marketing strategy, or?
No, not really. I mean, we have, there was a public radio station in Grand Junction. I know that was playing us a fair amount when we released our last full record. And we did send out to some college stations and stuff on the last full record. But that's not something that we really like have kind of broken into.
It's an interesting market because, like a lot of people or a lot of stations aren't playing independent stuff unless you go to like a college station or the station is specifically for independent music. But every once in a while, you'll just be listening to like a top 40 station and they'll throw in a random independent song. So it's always really interesting to see or hear when that happens. So I didn't know if it was something that was actively a part of your marketing strategy.
No, we don't have much in the way of active marketing strategies. Fair. To be perfectly honest.
Fair. So for the both of these songs, are you looking at possibly doing like a music video or anything once the EP is released? Or
we've thought about it. We should totally get on it. We've only ever we've done 2 full music videos.
Is it Train to Nowhere and what was the other one?
Our first one was Open Road.
Okay.
And Train to Nowhere, we actually like just squeaked it done at the very beginning of the pandemic. Like I shot a bunch of stuff. I went on a trip to Norway and shot a bunch of stuff there. And then we had snow in Angeles Crest in the National Forest. So we like hauled all the stuff up to the National Forest and got some snowy shots like in the trees and stuff to match all the Norway stuff. And literally, I think, what was it, the next week? They were like, it was already like you can only, I think at that time, like you could have 6 people together or something that. So we were like, okay, well, we'll be outside and it'll be like 5 of us or whatever it was. I can't remember how many. I think it was 5. And we were like, this should be good. And then the next week they were like, no, nothing.
I remember when the pandemic first hit, I was supposed to go down to a music festival in Tampa and do media coverage for them. And it was literally 6 days before Texas shut down, like completely. Like I work for a TV station. And so I was the week later we got sent home. It's like, nope, everybody's working from home from now. And I was just like, I'm really glad I didn't go down to Florida and go to that music festival. They still had it going. They did. Yeah, they still had it. And it was, from what I saw, it was a really good festival. But
maybe you would have come home with a souvenir you didn't want.
Yeah, absolutely. You got it right. So like we had mentioned, you're working towards an EP with the release of these 2 singles. Where are you kind of at in that process? Is everything recorded? Where are you kind of at?
We've just been doing a lot of writing.
Okay.
So our new guitarist, Joey, he and his wife had a baby in the middle of all of this. So we were trying to be really careful with that, just not knowing, like, for so long, not really knowing what that would mean, like if they possibly were exposed or whatever. So we like wrote for a period and then we took a little period off and then we wrote for a period. And we're just kind of ramping back up and trying to get ourselves back in gear to spend more time together now that we can do that safely because we're vaccinated.
Yes.
But yeah, we're excited. We've got some really, really strong songs that we feel good about.
Yeah, the goal is probably, hopefully by like the fall to get back into the studio and record everything. It's just been, we kind of like taking our time with the process where, before it was always just like make a bunch of songs and try to get in the studio and record them. So it's been nice to like kind of just, kind of marinate on the songs a little bit and put a little more time into them. And then, hopefully, like fall or whatnot, we can get into the studio and then start playing live shows again. That would be nice. I miss it dearly.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we're definitely a live show band. Like
Gotcha.
that's our jam. We just want to be out there and we want to play with people and that's it.
So when there isn't a global pandemic, how often are you guys usually playing shows?
At least once a week.
Okay.
Like we've had years where we're playing like 60, 70 shows in a year.
And that's all independent, right? That's all on our own and like
all self-booked,
doing our own booking. We've done 3 tours ourselves that we put together ourselves and like, it's a grind, but it's
work.
Yeah, totally. And then sometimes, it's like, sometimes we'll play for a really large, large, but like a packed crowd at a decent venue. And sometimes we'll pay for 3 people, but it's like, I think it's part of the journey and like, every band goes through that. And it's like, I don't ever try to get discouraged by anything like that. It's like, if we can walk away with one person who was like, I really like that, what you do. And I bought that CD and a t-shirt, then, it makes it worthwhile. And like, we've met a lot of cool people and I'm really looking forward to being able to do like, even, like a 1-2 week tour again. That'll be fun. Last time we did it with our friend. We have friends in a band called Tacoma Narrows, and it was kind of like their farewell kind of tour. They were ending their kind of long run as a band. So we rented this gigantic RV and went up all the way up the coast of the West Coast. And it was just super rad. And, it's just, there's nothing like it.
Where's the furthest you've toured out to?
Well, we played, I guess furthest west was probably Denver.
Okay.
We played like Denver and Aspen and because that's where I'm from, Boulder. So we played Colorado and then we played Washington, I guess. Yeah, we played Seattle and Tacoma and
we've kind of done Southwest and Pacific Northwest. It is a goal of ours to get over to the East Coast, but it's just getting, being in a band and at that, when you have, sometimes we have like up to like 6 people, right?
Yeah.
And then I have this huge upright. So it's like, I can't really find the play on it.
Yeah.
Just like figuring that all out.
Yeah.
But it's something that we definitely want to do. Yeah. I think the craziest thing we ever did was literally over a weekend. We left on a Friday afternoon, drove all the way to Roswell, New Mexico, played one show, and then.
You know that I lived in Roswell, New Mexico for about 4 years.
You did?
Oh, no, really?
Oh my gosh, no way.
When did you go to Roswell?
I'm trying to think of one that. Yeah.
About this time of year too, because I think they wanted us to come back for 4th of July.
Oh,
yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
Where'd you play at?
We played, I don't remember the venue, but it was for the Roswell Film Festival.
Oh,
the name of the venue?
Okay. So you played at, you probably played at the coffee shop then.
It was a restaurant.
It was a restaurant.
It looked like it was maybe like, it was right next to the train tracks or something.
Okay. You played, all right. So that was either Pecos Flavors or what was the name of not the Red Door. That's what it was. The second time it closed down.
I think that might
definitely had a red door.
Yeah.
And we have a trophy from that. We won best live show at the Roswell, New Mexico Film Festival. So
awesome. Because we interviewed a few people from the So I think that was, you guys were there probably in 2018, right?
Yeah,
Or,
it sounds about right.
Yeah, I think so.
or would it have been
I could
2017?
look.
Okay. I'm trying to think, because I interviewed a lot of musicians because I was there 1 year when they started bringing in musicians for the Roswell Film
Oh,
Festival.
that's so cool.
And I interviewed a few people, and I don't know if they did it 1 year or 2 years, but I will.
Yeah, we did. We played that, and we played. What was it? Tucson.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tucson on the way out, and then played there, and then we drove all the way home because we all had to be at work on Monday.
So we drove from Roswell to LA in one straight shot. Yeah.
Nice.
It was a lot.
It's not like, that's a pretty crazy drive, but I've driven from Tallahassee to Chicago and back in a weekend, so
That's brutal.
That's a long haul.
Those drives are fun though. Like when you have no other option and you got to be back by a certain time, those drives are fast.
Yeah, no, it's definitely good bonding times for sure.
I think there was only one fight over the movie quote game or whatever. that was the biggest fight we had.
And it didn't break up the band, right?
It didn't break up the band. No, but it was very intense, that game. I don't recommend playing that on road trips as a band unless you have non-competitive people.
None of my crew. Yeah, we're a little bit competitive. So.
Yeah. It was a brutal game.
Wow. That's crazy.
But we did stop at this amazing hotel and had lunch at this it was straight out of the I don't even know. It was Southwest 60s, and this hotel was
super cool. Yeah.
It was super cool. I can't remember the name of it or even where we were, but
was it on the Roswell trip, or was it
on the way back?
It was on our way back. John would remember because he went back there again, but it was cool. It was all these Westerns had been shot there, and
oh, you were probably down in Silver City in that area. I think you have to go right through Silver City to
something like that.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Remember. It was cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. We got good Mexican food.
Oh yeah. New Mexico, you kind of got to have the further west or the further east you get a little bit more Tex-Mex, but the further south you go, it's really good. So
yeah,
I agree,
so good.
100%.
We're in the land of Mexican food though, so.
I haven't been to LA in so long that I need to get back out there. We were supposed to go out there in 2019, but we drove from I drove from Tallahassee, Florida to Roswell, New Mexico, and then we were supposed to go up to Montana and then kitty over to LA to go visit some friends and then drive back, which that was an insane drive. But we were going to go from Montana and go through Nevada. And then because the guys I was with never been to Nevada. And but the road between Vegas and LA, there was a earthquake or something. And we weren't 100% sure if that road was going to be passable.
Oh, the 15?
Yeah. I was going to say the 15's bad. If it gets flooded or there's an accident, it's you're stuck on it.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
And so we were talking to a few people. They're like, we don't know, but if there was an earthquake out there, don't go. Just turn around, whatever you got to do. And I was like, okay, fair. So
yeah, fair enough.
Fair enough. So
yeah, it can be pretty gnarly for sure.
So, but kind of piggyback to your music. Obviously, the pandemic, there is no real shows going on right now, but you guys have been doing live streams. You'd brought up a couple different. How's that experience been for you?
It's been nice, actually. I mean, it was weird because I think it's so much harder for bands. This past year has been harder because it's still a big group of people. It's not as easy as being a solo group or two people or something. So for a while we weren't really doing anything. And then once it kind of calmed down and we kind of felt like we could do that a little bit more safely, it's just been so nice to be able to play again. So we've just done them from our living room, and we've done a handful for a group we love playing for called Tiny Porch. And we did like a nice winery thing where they like sent people wine tastings and they could like taste wine while we were, playing music for them. But it's been fun. We did a couple like just on our own on Facebook and Instagram, and we finally like started to get good at it, and then now I feel like people don't really watch them anymore because they go places. So
because that was always the interesting thing, like when pandemic first hit and like virtual festivals and virtual shows were like all the rage. And then like 3 months in, it was just like, there's so many things that could go wrong unless you really know what you're doing. They're not doing them. They're not doing virtual shows anymore.
Yeah. We definitely had a learning curve. Like the last couple we used, like we pre-recorded it like an hour ahead of time and then sent the pre-record out. And we found that like technology wise, it just played better. Like there was a lot less choppiness to it. And you also got to worry about
like the internet, or like depending on how you're capturing the audio, like how certain instruments are going to be picked up,
like the bass versus like anything that has like more of like a trebly tone to it. It's like a completely different thing. It's tricky.
And then
running 1,000 tests.
And then depending on what program you're using to broadcast through it, like Zoom here, I know when we did a couple of virtual shows with musicians, and the issue through Zoom was that it would compress the audio and then EQ out anything above and below certain frequencies. And it's just like, so if somebody was sitting there solo and they were able to stay within this frequency range, it sounded all right. But the second you brought in a duo with competing voices and the guitar, it was just like compress, EQ.
Yeah, and this whole sound would just drop out. Sometimes you're like, oh man, like, we just listened to a thing where there were like 3 singers singing a cappella, and it just, you couldn't hear it. It just like dropped them all out.
Yeah, it was bad. So we stopped doing it after a few tries.
No, I think the pre-record definitely helped. But it's just tricky.
Yeah, absolutely. So outside of music, what's your guys' kind of thing? What do you do outside of music to escape from music, I guess?
Well, I'm a yoga teacher, and I like, yoga and fitness and things like that. And we love to travel and adventure, and we've been able to do kind of that in a small scale way this past year. But that's probably hang out with my dogs. Like this last year's been reading, dogs, cooking, watching TV shows and movies, catching up on that, and music, and that's pretty much, and teaching yoga classes from the living room.
That's unheard. I work in television, so I've been lucky enough that I kind of worked through the whole pandemic.
What do you do? What do you do?
I'm a post-production supervisor.
Okay.
So I oversee all of the editorial. Like I'm kind of like the guy that's in between the production company and the EPs and then between that and then the network, and I oversee all the budgets. And but you said you work in television, so you probably know what I'm talking about.
I do a lot of promotion work, so I'm a creative services producer.
Okay, nice.
Been doing a lot more focusing on editing because I can do that a lot easier remotely. But
yeah, it's crazy to be, like I'm working on a show for Fox now, and it's like we have all of our editors and producers working from home. It's just me and a small group of AEs who are actually coming into the office every day. So it's a trip to see how you can make different scenarios work and still get it all done and make air. But yeah, as Anna mentioned, we do like to travel, and that's kind of like our jam outside of, doing music, is trying to, when we could, get to different countries and explore different places. But we've been trying to do like little kind of just like smaller weekend trips to still feel like we're not just stuck at home. you
Now,
know,
is there a do you guys will you guys do like a little duo acoustic sets between the two of you, or is it everything kind of geared more towards like a full band sound?
We have done some small stuff,
Mhm.
but most of our stuff is geared for a full band. But
Okay.
any of the songs that I play like ukulele on,
Yeah.
or like we have some covers that James and I have just done with guitar and bass. And
well, banjo, not bass.
oh yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I play guitar and you play banjo on those. But yeah, so we do those sometimes.
Okay.
If we can't get together as a full band.
Gotcha.
And that's been fun. Kind of like something that we dove into is like kind of like just doing little covers, and like we always try to go somewhere cool and record them. Like we did a zombie Cranberries cover, me and Anna, but we went to Yosemite.
Okay.
And
No,
we
that
like
was in the Sequoias.
Oh, that was in the Sequoias. Yes, we found like a secluded spot in the Sequoias where no one was really around, and we like, you know, set up a camera and our iPhone and just like kind of sat there in the middle of Sequoias and played our song. And it, you know, it was nice to be able to do something like that because of the pandemic. Not a lot of people were at the Sequoias, or
and then by the time you get done recording, you have a whole crowd around you wanting more.
right.
Or
it was just trying like to not swat flies out of my face. Is really
I
what
know.
it
We
was.
had bugs the whole time. We were like,
Yeah.
okay, just be cool. The camera can't see the bug. There's one part where it like goes by the microphone and it's like,
that had to sound amazing.
yeah, it's good. You can hear it at the very beginning of the video.
Nice. I'll have to go back and listen for it because I was watching it earlier. And
Oh, you were.
when you said Yosemite, I was like, it's not what it looks like. I mean, I'm not familiar with the national parks out in California or out west, but you know,
we went to Yosemite too, and that's why I default to Yosemite.
Gotcha.
My bad.
Gotcha. So obviously you're writing you released your 2 singles and you're working towards the EP. What's kind of the plan moving forward? Like, is it just writing and playing, or like what's kind of your guys' plan moving forward as things start to open up?
Yeah, I think this year is all for us. Like, we want to refine the stuff that we've already put together and get it recorded and just start playing shows as soon as we can.
Yeah, I think that's most important for us. It's just getting back out there and playing live. It's what we love the most, and we just like connecting with an audience and connecting with people, and like that's a big part of like why we love to do what we do. And I have really missed that, but just keep on keeping on, and like Anna said, record, and hopefully get a little more traction with this new record. And we just it's funny, from the sounds of it, you have your own bands and played your own music, and it's like it's always
actually, no, I don't know how to play music. I can't play or carry a tune. So
for some reason I thought
it's just kind of doing all this. It's I start picking stuff up and it's like, okay, cool. And
no, that makes sense. It's always it's like when you've been in a band, there's always a certain point in a band, like once you've been together for like 6 years or so, where it's like you're tired of the grind, you're tired of doing the same kind of venues, you want to like push forward. But it's like there's always a point where it's like you have to make that decision that no, it's like just because something hasn't happened yet doesn't mean that it won't happen. You just gotta like kind of push through that wall. And like I think we're kind of at that point. We could have easily been like, well, our guitarist is leaving, we got to find another one. Oh my God, the pandemic hit. Like, do we really want to do this anymore? It could have been really easy to be like, well, we had a good run, but we still really love what we do, and we love making music with, each other. And like, it's just such a cool thing to have. And like, I think we're like finding that space. We're like kind of like pushing, just kind of pushing through to the next level, to the next, the next chapter of our story, and see where it goes from here. It's like playing music from being such a little, a young kid. Like obviously when I was like 17, 18 was like, oh man, this band's gonna be the one, we're gonna make it, you know, and like having that like just the grandeur illusion of, you know, becoming a famous band. And and it's like we do what we do now because we love to make music and we love performing. And, you know, as long as that still rings true, you know, I think we'll just continue doing it, and anything that comes our way and any cool experience or opportunity that we have is just an extra added bonus.
Absolutely. That's a great way to look at it. You know, it's, you see a lot of bands that, and I talk to a lot of bands that they're frustrated because it hasn't happened yet, and they're questioning their ability and they're questioning all this stuff. And it's just kind of like, it's going to happen when it happens. Like, you have no control over it. So no. Well,
and I also think now more than ever, you know, like you don't have to like be a top 10 record label selling band to like be successful, you know. Like, I mean, I look, the Avett Brothers are one of my favorite bands, and I look at like kind of their career, you know, and like a lot of people know who they are. They sell out amazing shows, but you know, don't hear them on the radio. Yeah, they're not a radio, you know, like maybe they've had a couple singles that played, but like, you know, or bands like Shovels and Rope, and it's just like, it's cool to see that you truly can now kind of like get a little bit bigger just being an independent band, you know, and maybe finding a smaller label to work with. And like, it doesn't have to be this like, you know, I grew up in the MTV era, so it was like, you know, big, everything big. And it doesn't have to be that way anymore. And you can like find your own little niche.
Yeah. Because I was having this conversation, I think it was Monday, with a guy on the podcast here, about people that are putting a lot of stress on their Spotify streams and trying to get millions and millions of Spotify streams and all this stuff. And I made the point of, well, let me ask you this. Would you rather have 1 million people? Okay, let's say you release a song, you put it out on Spotify. Would you rather have 1 million people pay 1/10 of a penny to listen to that song, or would you rather go over to Patreon and have 70 people paying $10 a month to listen to your music? And you know,
a good point. Yeah,
it's all about, it's not so much about the size of your audience, it's about the loyalty and the willingness for them to support you, you know. So I think I'd much rather have 70 people paying $10 a month to listen to new music versus, oh, I got one song and I had 1 million streams on Spotify.
Yeah. And I made $12.
Yep. Exactly.
My 1 million streams.
Yep. Exactly.
I just want people at the shows, man. Like, that's what it comes down to for me. Like, again, back to like the connection thing. I just want to be able to play music for people who actually are excited to see you play, or even if they don't know you, you know, like excited to check out new music. That's like the one thing I'm even like, not even playing shows, but going to shows. Like that's always been a big part of our relationship. It's like going to shows, and like, just, I miss that so much, you know. I miss playing too, but going and supporting friends' bands or seeing bigger acts or whatever, it's just like, I miss that like camaraderie.
Yeah. I went to a show back in November, and it was really weird because it was still like right in the middle and the height of the pandemic, you know, like numbers were starting to go back up. And I just remember being there, and it's like, okay, it feels good to be here. But then you start seeing everybody, like you had a group over here, you had a group over here, and then you had this one random guy that would just be on top of everyone. Like he'd just come up and invade your personal space. And it's just kind of like, all right, it's a little weird, but yeah, you know. So, you know, it's the shows will open, and I'm really excited when they do. So
yeah.
But first off, I want to thank you guys for jumping on. It's been a blast chatting with you. If people want to check out your music or support what you guys got going on, where's the best place for them to do that?
thesoundofghosts.com or Instagram, The Sound of Ghosts, Facebook, The Sound of Ghosts.
Nice. Where are you guys most active social media wise, or what are you guys enjoying these days on social?
Instagram.
Yeah.
We have a Snapchat. Or no, we do have a Snapchat, but we have a TikTok that we just started. We've got about 4 videos. Nice. So we're pretty cool. But yeah, Instagram is
kind of where we do our most interaction.
yeah. Or
Nice.
don't go to Snapchat. We haven't been on that in years.
Yeah. I actually just deleted Snapchat off my phone.
Yeah, we haven't. We did, I think like a couple tours ago, we did like a lot of Snapchatting, and then it was like, oh, the Instagram stories, I guess. Now
It's just too much. It's just too much.
it's too many things. Yeah.
I'm really enjoying the dual posting from Facebook to Instagram because I found out how you can kind of do that so now I can post to Instagram from my computer, and it's like the most amazing thing.
Yes.
Nice.
So I'm enjoying that. So our Instagram is growing like crazy right now. It's like, yay, another social
Yay.
media.
Awesome.
No,
We'll have to give you a follow ourselves.
Yeah.
So, but once again, guys, thank you so much. Before we leave, I have to ask you a very controversial question.
Okay.
Pineapple pizza, yes or no?
Ooh, I'm a big yes on that, but I also want vegan cheese, so I'm sure people don't care what I think.
I can get behind it every once in a while. For most times, I would say no, thank you. But there has been moments in my life where I have enjoyed a pineapple pizza. So
Okay, fair point.
I'm 50-50 split.
Okay, fair. I'm from Chicago, so it's a controversial question every time I ask. So,
Oh yeah,
Got it.
that's a good question. Did you see that? What was it, like DoorDash or one of those ones did like a survey, and the most ordered food item on their entire thing was pineapple pizza. And they were like, so clearly they're closeted pineapple pizza lovers because that's the most ordered food item.
yeah. Like, I mean, I don't like, I think it's only like really controversial outside of New York and Chicago.
Yeah.
Like anywhere else, it's just kind of like whatever. But if you go to Chicago, it's a hard no.
Yeah.
So, yes.
New York's a hard no, I think, on that too.
Yeah. So
yeah, but
it's
they put
always
pasta on pizza in New York, so I don't even know what's happening with that.
And I was talking to somebody else the other day. I was like, I think sardines on pizza is weirder than pineapple. Like just putting sardines on.
I'm totally with you on that. Or with that person. That's so gross. I don't want weird little fish eyes looking at me.
Yeah. But once again, guys, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a blast chatting with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we will catch you guys later. How's it going, everybody? This is Tom Quiet here from the Live and Amplified Livecast. I just wanted to take a minute here and thank you all so very, very much for listening to today's episode. I just wanted to remind you that if you wanted to listen to the podcast live on Facebook, make sure you're following us on Live and Amplified. Every night we stream these podcasts live, so make sure you're tuning in. If not, make sure you're following us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the podcasting places, and make sure you're leaving a comment, rate, review, all that fun stuff, so we can try and get our listeners up and try and get more people in contact with this great thing that we're trying to do. Once again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you all next time.